Let them know who you are.
Jay Wolff, president of 212 NYC and CRO of KERV.AI.
Fantastic. Congratulations on a great panel out
Thank
there.
you. Thank
Packed
you.
house, everyone. You'll see the videos later.
Thank you.
Photos. You're welcome. What did you think about the panel? Any initial thoughts?
My initial thoughts are our panelists did a great job tonight. They talked about a lot of different variables of the upfront, everything from innovation to AI, right, to what's coming next on the upfront. We're going to see a whole new upfront this year. There's a lot of chaos going on, and that's why we're so happy to have this event. It was a good event to have.
Excellent turnout, fine representation from the community. Very fortunate to hear all those diverse perspectives, for sure. And people were talking about AI. There was contextual conversation, things you don't normally associate with. Hey, I want to sponsor the show. So I think you're right. There's a real evolution out there in front of us right now. But the upfront's about content, and what content is Jay Wolff and the Wolff family watching these days? Let's keep it light here.
Yeah, well, we just finished White Lotus, as everyone did, and we were shocked by the ending. But just us watching the White Lotus is a signal that streaming is going to be a big part of the upfront this year. Linear TV, with the exception of live sports and news. I think just my favorite show, all my friends' favorite shows, they're usually streaming shows. So figuring a way for brand integrations and stuff like that, it's going to be a huge opportunity, I think, for advertisers and agencies to figure out how to weave themselves in to the streaming environment beyond just the ads.
As they do that, that sort of gets towards content and embedding within it and such. Any promising companies out there you think are doing it right?
Yeah, there's a company called Red Brand that's doing a great job with product placement across TV. I think that's a novel approach to put a Diet Coke can in a commercial without having a Diet Coke can there in the first place. Our company KERV is doing great things with shoppable television, contextual signals. I think AI contextual is going to be a big part of the fabric of the future. Live ad podding, live sports, all that stuff is really big. But yeah, and then you have your behemoths. We're here at the Amazon offices today, so shout out Amazon, doing great stuff with Prime and streaming TV.
Yes, the integration of shopping capabilities and content, collapsing the funnel, immediate discovery to purchase. That's opening up a lot of opportunities. I know that's what you all are also working on at the KERV, which is amazing. What does that do to how marketers should be thinking about planning against this kind of myriad of pathways to a sale now?
Yeah, I think there's just still a lot of unknowns. So I think a lot of testing is going to happen in this upfront. I think it has to happen, depending on where the economy shakes out. So with tariffs and all the economic woes, innovation, you think innovation goes away, but I think it actually goes forward because companies need to find a way to collapse the funnel. And that's a really important equation part of the future of the TV upfronts and scatter. And it's how do we find to do new things, but keep our tried and true where it is. So I think there's going to be a balance.
I think we heard a little bit of that test and learn from the stage, a little bit of it's kind of all blending. So that tracks. That tracks really good. You're a digital native, so we grew up with new fronts, upfronts, a different animal. I know you've been involved in the last couple upfronts due to your role and your job. What do you see for these worlds, like blending? Where are the synergies? Another person we just interviewing, mentioned that, Maureen mentioned that Amazon's gone from the new front to the upfront. Same with Google for YouTube. Well, what do you think of these two separate things? Or are they separate things? What's
I think it should be called the one front.
The one front.
Because you don't need a new front or an upfront. I think
trademark one front.
Everything is blending together, to your point. It doesn't make sense to keep them separate. It makes more sense to bring them together and unify them. Digital, and we see it as 212 NYC. We're a digital organization that you and I have been part of for a long time, has become now a conglomerated organization with lots of different spectrums: TV, digital, digital out of home, right? So there's just a Frankenstein of ways to transact in the market. My prediction is everything comes together and new fronts and upfronts actually kind of disperse in the next few years, and they all become kind of one, either upfront. That's the way it's going to be. And you're going to see some new companies do upfronts and new fronts, right? Who knows if AI companies will do that? Yeah. Perplexity. You might be going to the Perplexity front at some point.
Sure. I like the one front though. Let's not lose sight of that. We should get the trademark in for that immediately as a 212 event, perhaps.
Maybe.
I like the concept of what you're saying. It sort of tracks with how ad tech has eaten the world. Ad tech is the underpinning for all of this, and that's been such a core base of the 212 membership, of the sponsoring companies. Any thoughts on what's next for ad tech so far? You've mentioned Rembrandt; they're doing some great work. They're an ad tech company. All the measurement companies that are going to tie these worlds together, also ad tech companies. What is the role of ad tech as it continues to invade the content space?
Yeah, I mean it's the accelerant to content. Ad tech will make content smarter. It'll make content better. It'll do things to content that didn't exist before. I think getting legacy TV networks and publishers to adapt that and get away from their old traditional ways, that is where we need a lot of education at the highest levels of these broadcasters, these publishers, these old school condes, and we just need to infuse that. And we're fortunate to be part of 212, where we get to provide access to a lot of young professionals who are wanting to learn about this ecosystem. And so I think you're going to see more content from 212 on that front. I think we're going to do some disruptive panels that really make a difference and get the learning going across the ecosystem. I think tech, to your point, tech is going to infuse content, make it smarter, make it work better.
Bring personalized experiences probably too on behalf of brands, right?
Yeah, but not only personalized, dynamic. There are going to be dynamic variables that change content. Maybe it is a show that changes based on a preference. Maybe it is a show that changes based on an outcome.
Choose your own adventure.
I think so.
Run by tech. I like that.
I think so.
We're baking up a lot of ideas here on this chat.
As we always do.
Come play. Thanks for sharing your time. Thanks for leadership on the
Thank you.
212 board.
Thank you.
Thanks everyone for tuning into this.